Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan from Fireside Knicks with my friends and co-hosts Justin and Dylan Backer. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Quentin Grimes working out with JJ Reddick. Now, Quentin Grimes obviously coming off of a really big leap in year two. Like, people don't really talk about it enough. In year one, he wasn't just not a starter. He was a non-factor for the first half of that season. And he was a later first-round pick. Typically, those players don't become starters. It's usually a success story when they do. Most of the talent obviously gets clogged up around those first 10 to 15 picks. And Grimes has really done a great job of taking leaps forward and taking advantage of the opportunities given to him. Entering the season, he wasn't even a starter anyways, right? Like opening night, I believe Evan Fournier was a starter. I know Grimes dealt with some injury stuff, but it felt like Grimes would have to accept the role off the bench. He inevitably became a starter. He became this team's primary defender for the starting five, especially with Barrett taking that step back defensively. And with the Knicks needing shooting, he's one of the few bright spots on that regard. Obviously, the Knicks didn't shoot a great percentage from three last year. Grimes shot 38% from three on nearly 6 attempts. So, overall, the points per game were up. The efficiency was up. His ability to score in the interior was up. His free throw shooting was up. He was significantly better from last year. And overall, I think Quentin Grimes is starting to become a piece of this team that either A, if he gets traded in a big deal, would net obviously a huge return. But, B, and this is the thing we want to focus on, there's a world where Quentin Grimes becomes the reliable 3-and-D guy and adds a little bit more, especially with his interior scoring, and becomes a really nice role player on this team. And I say role player in a complimentary way. I mean it in the sense of like, this is the type of guy that you look at as if this guy is in your lineup on a given night, you feel like you're at an extreme disadvantage. So I wanted to pass it off to you guys. Justin, I wanted to get your thoughts on what you think Quentin Grimes working out with JJ Reddick can do for him, some of the things you'd like to see him improve in 2023, or I guess 2023, 2024. And how are you doing today, my friend? Let it rip.
Well, thank you, Ryan. I'm doing good. And as far as Grimes goes, like you said, he took a big leap in year two that kind of went unnoticed a little bit. Like not too many people talked about it. He didn't play a whole lot in his rookie season. He only averaged about 6 points a game. Like you said, he was a non-factor for like the entire first half of the season. So the way I like to view it, I'm going to use a baseball analogy here, but that second half that Grimes played was basically like his spring training or preseason, the way I see it. And last season was his rookie season, if you will. It's his first real burn in the NBA last year. His last season, and he became a starter. He was our best defender, like you said. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, if we're being completely honest. He was top 2, 3 in matchup difficulty, guarding the toughest opponents every night. He shot the ball well. Obviously, he shot the ball well. That's what he does. But, he also showed some flashes of what else he can do offensively. I liked his passing ability. I think that's still a very underrated skill in his game, his passing ability. He's got very good vision. I believe he played point guard in high school and college, as coming up through the ranks, he played point guard a lot. So, he's got point guard skills. Obviously, he's not going to play point guard on this team, but he's got good vision. I like his ability to attack closeouts, especially from the corners. What I noticed, he'll attack a closeout. He's immediately at the basket. He's really quick, really athletic. Something I would like to see him improve on, though, is his decisiveness. Sometimes, like when you watch him play, it looks like he's either moving too fast for his own good or he doesn't know what to do with the ball. Like he'll get the ball, stand somewhere, kind of hold it up, look around, and then the possession kind of dies because of that, like the indecisiveness. I would like him to not hesitate as much. There was times where Randall would kick it to him in the corner and he'd be open, but he wouldn't shoot it. Grimes has a very unblockable jump shot. He should let it fly, and I'm sure the coaches would be okay with that because he's a great shooter. So, those are some things I'd like to see him improve on. As you alluded to, we saw him working out with JJ Reddick over the weekend. I think that's great. JJ Reddick's one of the best three-point shooters in history. JJ Reddick clearly knows his stuff too, as he's turned into an analyst in recent years after his playing days. I mean, you have a long career if you can shoot the three ball. JJ Reddick played in the NBA for 15 seasons. You know what I mean? He's a small guard. All he's known for was shooting, and he played for 15 seasons. Shooting the three ball lengthens your career. So, I see no problem with that. Obviously, Grimes is already a great shooter. Why not refine it and make it even better? You know what I mean? I believe Grimes was second on the team in three-point percentage last season behind Brunson, I believe. So, I think this year he can definitely lead the team in three-point shooting, in percentage, I think that would be ideal. I'm expecting him to take another scoring leap. I'm not expecting him to jump to like 20 points per game. That would be absurd, but he was at 11 last season. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a leap to like 15, 16. I think that would be great, so But yeah, I think working out with JJ Reddick will definitely like help that too, because JJ Reddick's a very fundamentally sound player. He'll refine his skills a little bit, young player still. So, that's kind of my take on it right now. But yeah, I'd like to hear what Dylan has to say.
Right. So, first off, I'm happy to be back on here. It was a long layoff, but we're back at this now. Anyways, just to kind of add on to your point, I thought you hit on some really good points, Justin. Like you said, he's a young player, so working with a veteran like JJ Reddick, obviously he's not in the NBA anymore, but a guy who played for a very long time and has that experience, of course. Kind of pick his brain a little bit. I think that's very beneficial for Grimes. You know, we already know how good he is defensively. We know like where his skill set lies there. He's already pretty much shown like really good capabilities to be a very good defender for the long term. So that's not my concern. What you said, the decisiveness, sometimes it looked like he was a little reluctant to shoot the ball when we were like, all right, come on, like let it fly. We know you can shoot. He shot close to 40% from three this past season, averaged 11 points. So it's not like he's an inefficient shooter. He has the good shot. It's the confidence and the decision making. And of course, I'm not going to knock on him too much because, like you said, this past season was essentially Grimes' like first real true test in the NBA because it was his first full season, of course, but also like, he definitely got a lot of playing time this time around, unlike the previous season where he honestly barely saw the floor. And he didn't even really get playing time until like what was it, like January of the 2022 season. So it was nice to see Grimes kind of get a good role this past season. I was happy to see him be a big part of the Knicks offense, and the defense, of course, but I was really just happy to see him be a big part of the lineup. That was a huge thing. So working with JJ Reddick, I think is going to not only, like what you said, it's good to just kind of help refine your game a little bit from, shooting aspect. Cause JJ Reddick, like you said, one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, lasted in the NBA for 15 years. If you could shoot well, you're going to stay in the league for a while. Look at guys like Kyle Korver, Ray Allen, guys like that. They play in the league forever because they shot the three ball well. Steph Curry, of course, as well. He's been around forever. Guys like that. I'm not saying Quentin Grimes is going to end up becoming like that. No, but it's good to have a young player like him whose game is very like oriented on shooting to work with a guy who was one of the best shooters of all time. It's just beneficial to do that. It'll raise his confidence a little bit. I think working out with him, kind of figuring out like, okay, what's a good shot here? What's not a good shot here? When should I take this shot? When should I, look to pass out? When should I, try to drive in, space it a little bit? I think just working with Reddick, kind of figuring out what he did that helped him in his career that would help, Grimes going forward. I think, working with, I think when Grimes being in the lineup, this past season and, working with, all the starters this year, being the starting five for most of the year, I think that helped him a lot because it got him a lot of chemistry with, the guys like Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, decision making that would halt the possession. But, he has that chemistry. Grimes kind of knows where he is in this offense. I think it's just a matter of, like you said, the decision making. Sometimes he's just going a little too quick. Kind of needs to just play with the flow of the game a little bit. No, he needs to know when to let it fly. We want him to shoot the ball. The Knicks badly needed shots. Not saying he needs to take 15 shots a game. No, but like if he can take like a good close to like 10, 11, 12 shots a game, a couple three, a good amount of 3-pointers as well. I think that'll really enhance the offense, really enhance the spacing a bit. I think, like I said, working with JJ Reddick can help enhance that confidence, make him want to shoot the ball more, get more involved in the offense. And, to add on to what you said earlier, Justin, maybe he could get to like 15 points a game or something like that. He could end up becoming one of the better role players really in the NBA. Role player, we obviously sometimes it has that negative connotation to it, but in this case, I think it would be, very positive way to describe Grimes really, because Grimes just plays his role, he does what he's supposed to do, and it impacts winning, and that's I think a huge thing. So seeing him work with Reddick is huge. I'm honestly happy to see that he's already looking to work out with some of these these experienced vets or guys that were used to be in the league and stuff like that. I'm happy to see that. I love seeing young for anybody really, but for Grimes especially, I think working with a guy like Reddick, that's a perfect guy for him to work with. I really do think so. So that's kind of just my takes on it. I want to hear what Ryan's got to say though, because me and Justin have kind of been filling up the time here. So give me what you got, Ryan.
Yeah, no, again, like I love hearing you guys talk ball, so don't worry about that. But from Quentin Grimes' perspective, like, you guys kind of hinted at this with the shooting, but he has a pretty high floor, all things considered, right? Shooting is always going to be valuable in this league. This league has gone in a direction where it heavily values the ability to shoot the three ball. So we know that teams are going to always pay for that, right? Like, look at Evan Fournier. Like, there's going to be a team that takes on, not takes on the contract because you have to swap contract, but there's going to be a team that's at least interested in acquiring him. And he played like what? He started how many games last year? Maybe like 10, 12. I mean, that might even be a little bit high, right? So, ultimately speaking here, the Knicks have a guy who has a high floor. He's a pretty good defensive player. As you guys mentioned, on the perimeter, especially, he's amazing. He took on extremely difficult defensive assignments last year. He got his welcome to the NBA moment is going out and defending these extremely high-powered offensive players, right? And that's your welcome to the NBA moment. That's not your, okay, that's your year 3 or year 4 assignment. That's your year 2 assignment, and you're really your year 1, as Justin alluded to, as a regular in the Knicks rotation and in the starter in the Knicks lineup. So, all things considered, he did an excellent job adapting. He did an excellent job getting better. And during the season, I mean, you'd see stretches where he'd slump from 3, but then he'd find it. You'd see stretches where he could lock down some of the best offensive players in the league. We saw how they were able to manage Donovan Mitchell during that series. A big part of that is Quentin Grimes' contributions. I do think that the Knicks are just that much better with Quentin Grimes. And I can only imagine, as you guys alluded to, I think the big thing here is confidence, right? Like, he has a quick release. He's a taller guard, so, he can get up and over a couple of guys. He's got to just be willing to let it fly, right? Like, this guy, I want him to go out and shoot the 3 ball. I want the Knicks to shoot threes, and he's a capable shooter. Even if it dings his percentage from, like, let's say 38 to 36%, but the volume goes up, he's going to be deadly, right? Like, he's going to be devastating. He's going to be a threat from 3. Teams are not going to know what to do with this offense if they have a guy like that, because if you look at what RJ Barrett excels at, it's driving to the basket. If you look at where Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson excel, they excel at they excel from deep, they excel from mid range, they excel in a lot of different manners. Mitchell Robinson, of course, is strictly an interior guy, but it just opens up that paint. It opens up that interior, and all it takes is RJ Barrett getting loose and slip into the basket. And as you guys alluded to with Quentin Grimes' passing ability, he's going to see that, right? So there are going to be avenues for the Knicks as an offense to get a lot better. They are a strong offensive rebounding team that allowed them to hide their efficiency issues, but those efficiency issues got exposed in the postseason. If Quentin Grimes can take that next step and say, all right, you know what? I am the 3-point guy on this team. I'm the guy. Yes, Brunson shoots a higher percentage, but I shoot a higher volume. Like, I'm the best 3-point shooter on this team. When I get the rock and I'm open, I'm shooting this thing. If he has that mentality, that doesn't mean every single time he gets the ball, he's going to shoot, but it's just that extra step of confidence, that extra, I do believe in myself to hit this shot. That's going to go a long way. And I think that'll open up this Knicks offense to do a lot of different things. They struggle with playmaking. They struggle with efficiency. Those are 2 things that you expect Grimes to get better in. And if he can, this team gets a lot better. If they're to add anyone, there's still technically time for them to add, a star level player, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. That seems more like a next year thing. No one really available stands out to the Knicks. The only guy you really thought about was Paul George, but they're out on him. Other guys, like I'm sorry, there's just no reason for James Harden to be a New York Knick. No disrespect to the guy, but there's no reason for that to happen. Maybe Joel Embiid becomes available, but that still feels like a maybe, not a definite thing. And even if you were to get a Joel Embiid, I mean, if you have Quentin Grimes still somehow, Joel Embiid, you're going to have to worry about Embiid, not just from the perimeter, but in the paint. And then you have to worry about a guy like Quentin Grimes in the perimeter. This offense just gets a lot scarier, right? And then defensively, the impact he has, you expect that his defensive abilities or his positioning gets a little bit better as he has more experience in the league. If Barrett can refine a little bit of that, defensive prowess he's shown in the past, the defense gets a lot better. Quentin Grimes is just a high floor guy. He's a guy you can put into any team, into any offense, into any defense, and he just makes them better. So I guess my question for you guys would be, I want you guys to identify one thing you think Grimes has to get better at this year, or not has to, but would be the most beneficial for him to get better at. Obviously it could be as simple. I mean, realistic would be like, hey, just go out and drop 30 a game, but that's not realistic. If there's one skill that you want him to get better at, what is that skill? Justin, taking the floor here.
Well, actually, I'm going to take a different turn on this. I don't think he needs to make any changes skill-wise. I think he has all the skill. He played 4 years in college. This isn't a raw prospect. I think the thing he needs to change is the decision-making, like I alluded to earlier. Sometimes it looked like he was rushing out there. Like, the Knicks play pretty slow. They're not a fast-paced team. You know what I mean? And there was times where it looked like he was playing like his hair was on fire. He would get the ball at the top of the key and just immediately shoot it, and it would come up way short. and like it would look like me at the park, like trying to look cool. I'm not in the NBA, so it's not a great look. There was times that Grimes would play and it would look like that. You know what I mean? Like he was rushing out there, or if he wasn't rushing, he was doing the complete opposite and was just doing nothing. You know what I mean? He would catch the ball in the corner and just stand there with it, not know what to do, and just end up swinging it back to whoever gave it to him. So I think the decision making is really like that'll unlock him. It's the decision making and the confidence. If he can get to that, then I think he's golden. Really, I think, like I said, I don't think he needs to change anything skill wise. He's a good defender, good passer, good shooter. He's athletic. We've seen he can finish. I think skill wise he's good. It's just the confidence and decision making. This game it's a physical game, but it's also a mental game. And if you don't have that confidence, the results are going to show. You know what I mean? And if I can see that, you know what I mean, then anybody should be able to. So that's kind of where I think skill wise he's fine. It's up here. That's what I think, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head, honestly. His bag is pretty deep. He's athletic, like you said, he can pass, he shoots, obviously all this stuff, defends well. He's got a pretty versatile game, and that's very beneficial, of course, to just have on the Knicks overall. But so like, skill-wise, he has it all. It's the mental. I fully agree. It's the mental. Slow down a little bit, play with the pace of the game, don't rush yourself, don't try to do things that you don't really have to do, because at times it felt like Grimes was trying to do like a little bit more than he really needed to do. We have guys on this team that can create offense. We have Brunson who creates offense, Randall who creates offense, obviously, and Barrett too can create offense. We don't need Grimes to necessarily like come in and become like a creator. He needs to be more just like, a guy that's, I guess, like, I don't know, way to put it, like, just play with how the game is going, play with the flow of it. Don't try to do something else that you don't really need to do. Be ready to shoot the ball. Be on the lookout for guys that are open if you do get the rock. Think about what you're going to do before you get the ball. I think that's something that he should really think about, that he should really work on. He should know, like, okay, if I'm in this spot right here and he kicks it out to me, I'm going to shoot it. Or if he gives it to me here and, I'm not shooting it, I'm going to cut to the basket and see, and dump it off to like Mitch down low for a dump off pass. Think about what you're going to do before you get the ball. I think if you do that, that'll improve your decision making. It'll, just up on the fly. You feel like you're prepared for it. I think that's really all I think he really needs to do. It's a mental game, like you said. It's not just, a physical game. It's mental. You have to, have it locked in on both aspects of that. I think, like we've been saying, working with JJ Reddick will be huge. JJ Reddick is a very good basketball mind. Like you said, he's an analyst at ESPN. Fantastic basketball mind. He has that podcast, of course. We hear him talk all the time about how he likes, loves seeing these young players and how they play and stuff. JJ Reddick's been very high on a lot of young players. He loves seeing, the mentality of some of these young guys. Not even just Quentin Grimes, but like other young players in the NBA. What JJ Reddick is like, that's like a huge thing. I was really happy to see that he was working with a guy like him. I think he's the perfect guy to work with Quentin Grimes. I think that's the perfect match. Do I think that like Grimes is going to suddenly become a 20-point per game scorer? No, not necessarily, but I do think, we can see another leap in year 3. I think we could see close to, 14, 15 points a game. And as Ryan alluded to earlier, more shot volume. Even if the percentage goes down a little bit, if he's taking more shots, that's another guy that opposing defenses have to focus on now. Not necessarily saying that they got to make him the target, but they have to focus on. They can't just like ignore him and leave him open or just give him room. No, they have to treat him like an actual threat. And I'm not saying teams weren't necessarily doing that, but when you're taking less shots, teams aren't going to take you as seriously. They're not. So if you just get more confident, you get more involved in the offense a little bit. Like I said, what you're doing. You improve that decision making. Think about what you're going to do before you get the ball. Then I think he's golden. I think he can, like I said, really, I think he can become a really, really good role player, one of the more valuable role players in the NBA, to be honest, if he can really just fine tune those. He has to make like massive changes. I think it's just a mental adjustment, a fine tuning, if you will. I don't think it's necessarily something that has to become drastic, if that makes sense. Because I think Grimes has all the tools. I really do. I really like what he has. I think he has a pretty high ceiling for what he's got. So I think it's, like I said, it's all just up here. Just if you get that right and fine tune it, I think he's going to be in a really good spot for us. And I think it'll really benefit the Knicks moving forward. So that's kind of just my take on it. I kind of want to hear what you got to say though, Ryan. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, so ultimately, the one thing I really want to see Quentin Grimes get better at is just again confidence with his shot. I think the more confident he is in his 3-pointer, the more I guess the word would be trust. The more trusting he is of that shot and his ability to make a big shot. I think the better he'll be as a player. The progress he made from year 1 to year 2 is great. If he makes a similar leap from year 2 to year 3, he will be an excellent player. Right now, I think that's an unrealistic leap. Like he went from really just like a nice little like, hey, give him like 10 to 15 minutes a game to this is a really nice full-time starter. If he takes a leap like that again, I don't even know what that would look like, but I'm sure that would be a little bit unrealistic to ask in year 3. But another thing I really want him to work on is, just getting a little bit more consistent with positioning defensively, right? Just make sure that that the defensive reps you got last year taught you something. He's going to be asked again to take on tough defensive assignments. And, not that it doesn't matter or not that context doesn't, make you more valuable. But, in terms of points on the board, right, if the Knicks give up 115 points in a game, right, or 120 points in a game, and the guy that Grimes was guarding goes off, right, like it's not going to be a conversation of, hey, this guy's really good and he just went off. It's also going to be hey, this guy's really good and he went off, but why didn't you stop it, right? The expectations are going to go up just as the production goes up. And so I know Grimes is capable of making that leap in terms of getting a little more consistent. But, I think that could be the difference between him being, hey, he's a solid role player, but the Knicks want to maybe upgrade a certain position defensively and make them the primary defensive guy, like an OG Anunoby. Like the Knicks, the need for an OG Anunoby kind of goes away if Quentin Grimes takes that leap, right? Because then you have sort of what OG Anunoby does for you. So I think it's possible. I think OG Anunoby is kind of a really good comparison here because again, great shooter, really good defensive player, takes on tough defensive assignments. If he can be that type of guy, this team, number one, from a draft perspective, you got surplus value from that pick. And I know Leon Rose would feel great about that. But number 2, man, you get like, if he's a number 3 option behind like, a real number 1, like I know Brunson's great, but you think more like an Embiid type when you think of a number 1, not a Jalen Brunson, if you get what I'm saying. And you have like Quentin Grimes, that like third best player, maybe not necessarily the third most important player to your offense, but on offense and defense, your third best player. You have a young, controllable player. You have a team that suddenly, meshes extremely well together. I think Grimes as the shooting guard plays, or I guess small forward, depending on where you put him, he plays really well off of what the Knicks need, which is shooting and defense, right? So I think ultimately he's a big part of what the Knicks are going to be doing going forward, whether he's traded, whether he's here, however that happens. Quentin Grimes is going to be a big part of, and his development is going to be a big part of this team's ability to, hopefully win a championship one day. So, with that being said, I think this is a really exciting year for him. I'm very excited to see what he can do. I'm very high on Quentin Grimes. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I know that Quentin Grimes is one of these guys where, year 3 is for every player, year 3 typically is that big year. And we're hoping that we get that from Quentin Grimes, especially considering that entering this season, the big addition was Dante DiVincenzo. The big subtraction was Obi Toppin. You're not looking too different as a team, but you're hoping just having an offseason together and having some sort of, year 2 development as this core and hoping that'll carry you to another, at least you're hoping to at least get to the second round this year. I think that's really like you're not necessarily a finals team, but you're hoping to get to that second round. So we'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below about Quentin Grimes. We'd love to know what you guys think. Do you guys think he's taking that big leap in year 3? Maybe you want to drop some predictions for some stat lines. I'd love to know what you guys have to think. We're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. You guys can listen to the audio version of this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And of course, you guys can check out our personal Twitter accounts. Those are above our heads. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Thank you so much for watching. And make sure you guys like and subscribe. Peace out.